James and Jennifer Crumley, the parents of a teenager, his name was Ethan Crumley, who killed 4 students in 2021 in Oxford, Michigan. Each were sentenced Tuesday to 10 to 15-year prison just weeks after being convicted of manslaughter. So they're the first parents in the United States to be found criminally responsible for a school shooting committed by their child. The judge sentenced them for failing to take steps that could have prevented a runaway train. Judge Cheryl Matthews said, and I quote, "These convictions are not about poor parenting. These convictions are from repeated acts or lack of acts that could have halted an oncoming runaway train." There was no trial testimony from specialists or the shooter's state of mind, but the judge allowed the jury to see excerpts from the journal. And one of the journals said, from the son, Ethan, "I have zero help from my mental problems, and it's causing me to shoot up the effing school. I want help. My parents don't listen to me, and I can't get any help." Also, I think there's a video of them bringing the kid to the gun shop to get a gun days prior to the shooting. I'm not joking. And I'm going to go around and ask everybody, and then I'm going to give my 2 cents. David, you hear the story, you hear the punishment, you hear what's happening. What are your thoughts?
I didn't watch the trial as thoroughly as other people did, and so knowing that, I would attenuate my opinion. I'm sensitive to the underlying concept here. I can imagine certain circumstances in which there's such severe culpability of the parents for their negligence that they could or should be held responsible. For example, there was Abby Warner, another kindergarten teacher that was shot by a 6-year-old kid. Jeez. In that type of situation where you say, how does an automaton effectively as a human, a 6-year-old kid, get a gun? I can see going after the parents. In this case, they charged Ethan as an adult, and yet nonetheless try to hold the parents responsible for the acts carried out by their son as an adult. Some of the evidence, the diary and what he wrote in his diary, it's not clear the parents ever saw it. The idea that you're going to hold the parents responsible for negligent manslaughter for this chain of events, I can understand the theory in law. I'm not sure it plays out in this particular case, but this is just another front of the war on the Second Amendment, criminalizing any form of gun ownership. People are going to say, obviously, just lock it up and keep it away from your kids, and that's the obvious thing. The question there goes after that, though. At what point are parents liable for the acts of their treated as adult children?
Okay, so here's my question, though. I think in this case, it's not going, which I'm going to get into. I don't think it's necessarily going after the guns, which, I mean, they always do that, and I'll get into it. But I think, David, and this is the case that they did have this evidence. He did reach out. He was trying to tell them he was crazy.
Well, there's evidence in this case that he reached out to the school, to the guidance counselors, that the school knew what was going on. They called him into the office. They didn't search his backpack. They send him right back to class. So in as much as, let's expand culpability based on this theory of the case, go after the school. Oddly enough, in the 6-year-old kid who shot Abby Warner, they're going after the school too, but why not in this particular case? So I mean, the question is, who knew what, and what is the degree of culpability? But it seems, by all accounts, the school knew more than the parents. They had seen more evidence, and the parents, if we're going to start holding parents responsible for the criminal acts of their children who are treated like adults, that is opening a big can of worms. I'm not sure it's warranted, but I'm sensitive to the argument.
Do you think that something of this nature, like let's just say every state adopts this law, do you think this is something where the parents see this and they're like, wait a minute, I got to get more involved to see why the hell he's dressed in all black, why he looks like a freaking, like the typical cardboard cutout of a school shooter. I mean, bro, they're depressed. They're not talking to nobody. They're loners. They don't hang out with anybody. They're depressed. You could see the attitude. You're giving them all these freaking drugs for Ritalin. I don't know what drugs this kid Ethan was on, but it's like, do you think that long term, I get the negative side of it, but on the positive side, Dave, do you feel like this could be something where parents now are going to see this and be like, wait a minute, I got to get more involved with my kid?
Well, I would say if we want to see a silver lining in what might be a bad judicial precedent, yeah, it'll get parents to lock up their guns and maybe not get guns as entertainment tools for their children. Maybe that's the silver lining. But as a legal precedent, I would be apprehensive about, cheering this on.
Got you. What about you, Connor?
Yeah, it's a terrible situation. Obviously, 4 kids were killed. No one's trying to downplay that, but it's also a terrible verdict. It's not a good precedent to set here, and we'll, I'm sure, discuss some of the implications long term in a minute. But like Viva said, we're not ready for the can of worms this is about to open up, where you can charge parents for what their kids do. And as he said, Ethan Crumley was charged as an adult, which means they have determined that he is responsible for his own actions, which means either he is held responsible for it, or his parents are. You can't really have both. But because they're, the society is obviously so angry about school shootings, they just need more people to punish. They're not happy with going after one person. They need multiple to be responsible for it.
Got you. Rob, what do you think?
I too am going to attenuate my opinion.
Holy
Did I use that? Did I say that correctly,
Very
sir?
nice.
Whoa!
I have no
Lawyer.
idea what it means, but when he said it, I'm like, I'm gonna write that down.
By the way,
Attenuate.
I'll bet $1,000 you didn't write the right
Oh,
word.
probably not. We far often in case like this, we're looking at. We're not looking at the cause of the problem. We're looking to try and figure out how to solve the problem after the fact. Right now, okay, we're going to hold parents responsible or these parents responsible, and could it lead to other parents being responsible? But I really believe we need to look at the cause of what's causing these children to act this way. And a few of the things that I wrote down: antidepressants, bullying, a loss of self-worth, social media. And I really believe, we've talked about this before, I feel like there's a loss of respect for human life. I think that plays into violent, and I hate, the internet's going to yell at me,
Whatever.
oh, violent video games, violent movies don't do that. But you can look at culture and see how culture is influenced by media, how culture is influenced by video games. I see it with my own children, which is why I limit their screen time. So I don't know about this case enough to actually have, that's why I'm attenuating my opinion.
I love it. Second time.
I would like to figure out how we can stop these from happening. And it's not gun control. Unfortunately, bad guys got guns. That's what's going to happen. The bad guys already have the weapons. So if you take guns away from good people who are using them to arm themselves against people who are trying to arm them or harm them, you're just going to end up making those people sheep. They're just going to be there for the people with the guns that are bad to do bad things. So it's not gun control. I think there's a bigger issue, a societal issue that needs to be fixed here.
Brandon, what do you think?
Yeah, so I saw one time after one of these school shootings that what do you imagine the cost would be to secure every school in the nation with buzz-in door and a full-time security guard that's next military?
Every single school?
$150,000 a school, depending on the
Yeah,
size.
right. And,
Hire veterans. to do it.
Exactly. And the cost comes out to $6 billion. And think about how many billions and trillions we've thrown around at nothing. Ridiculous thing.
Oh, they don't give a shit. Dude, because they can give two shits about the children. When you really think about it in retrospect, the money spent on just, all
They don't
the money
wanna
they're giving
fix
to illegals right
They don't
now.
want to fix the problem though, because every time the school shooting happens, they're like, "Oh, see, that's why we need to take guns away." But you could bet your ass though there'll be 40 million deaths by the hand of the government if we ever let them take the guns away.
Dude, I love that you just said that, and Rob. I'm going to come to you. That is their goal. Yeah, please don't forget, Rob, because that's in this case. They probably did it. I don't remember the actual day kind of that it came out, but that is at the end goal. Something like this happens, David. These poor families are like the worst thing possible emotionally is your child dying, and in this fashion, I can only imagine.
Well, and people go back to the Sandy Hook and maybe emphasize the wrong things, where people are called conspiracy theories for saying, why did they tear the school down so quickly? How much would it have cost, or were there supposed to be certain security features implemented that were not? And therefore, after the incident occurs, the horrible tragedy, you exacerbate conspiracy theories by tearing down the school, by going after the wrong people, the Alex Joneses of the world, instead of saying, did they fail to implement basic safety procedures? And maybe that is the sort of conspiracy at the end of the day.
Yeah.
People get on Twitter and they say, how many kids have to die before you, ban guns or whatever?
Yeah.
And when you can read that as both, potentially a threat, like how many times, the more this happens, the better it is for the Second Amendment restriction argument.
course.
And so there's almost sort of a really sick, perverse incentive to either allow these things to happen, to exacerbate them when they do happen, or to politicize them after they happen, instead of looking for the proper solution, just looking to weaponize it against the Second Amendment.
Check. And they whatchamacallit? I mean, every case needs to be taken on like a case by case thing because people get like dramatic and carried away when things like this happen. But with the school thing, we're talking about a metal detector and an armed guard.
It's not that, brother. It's not that much.
Less than $1,000 to a metal detector.
Brandon, even just a metal detector, period, with somebody monitoring it.
So I went to an inner city high school, Atlantic City High School class of 2004. And when I say inner city high school, it was inner city. It was not a good high school. They had metal detectors. They had clear backpacks. We had armed security guards. We had fortified doors that locked from the inside and out so you couldn't get in or out. what do we need to do to secure the schools?
People are going to
That's
say,
it.
but people are going to say that's not what life should be like in high
Yeah,
schools. You shouldn't- but the flip side is, look, you have armed guards, locked doors, and security guards, and everything at banks because human nature is what it is. People are going to try to steal money, and so you need to protect it. There are bad people who are going to try to do bad things, and you need to protect against it, not pretend it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And you can look north of the border. In Canada, the more stringent the gun laws, the worse gun crime has gotten.
Weird.
Because it's not committed with it's not committed by law-abiding citizens, and in Canada, it's not committed with lawfully procured firearms.
Yeah.
So the irony is that the stricter the gun laws, the higher the gun crime goes.
Yeah, of
at least
course.
in Canada.
Well, here
and
too, gun-free zones are the most killed.
soft targets. Bottom line, it's true. Human nature is terrible. Security would be the minimum deterrent, and oftentimes is the most effective deterrent.
Yep, Connor.
Well, you also got to assess it from this perspective. Either you lock up the criminals or you start locking up innocent people just out in the world, because that's how it goes down. Like Rob mentioned, his high school was treated like they were in some sort of prison facility. But that's what was required to stop people from causing problems. Same reason you go into a convenience store now and the toothpaste is behind glass that needs to be unlocked. It's because they won't lock up the people who keep stealing the toothpaste.
So you lock up the people who abide by the rules.
So the rest of us who are just there to buy the toothpaste can't do it because of the inability to actually punish the people responsible.
Yep.
And at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, you remember all the kids from that the kids who survived that shooting became very prominent anti-gun activists and everything. They started large movements. When they implemented the clear backpacks rule at that school, they were all against it. They were saying that this is going after the victims. We are being punished. This is an authoritarian intrusion. I was like, well, that's what happens. Yeah. This is the policy you called for.
Yeah, you want to see authoritarianism take the guns away, and
exactly.
that will happen.
Well, that goes to my point, because at the end of the day, and you guys all alluded to it, their main goal is to get rid of the Second Amendment. Every time there's a shooting, they don't waste 1 second. It's Biden. They wheel his old ass up to the front, and he's like, guys, get rid of the guns. Because listen about it. If it wasn't for the Second Amendment, we'd be China right now. Okay, we need parents to be more hands-on on mental health needs. I think that should be the forefront. Because at the end of the day, if you want to kill, there's other ways to kill, bro. I just saw a guy the other day driving his car and running over people to kill them. And then this story, I know I'm doing a little shift, but it coincides with the transgender movement. With parents with gender reaffirming surgeries, allowing their kids to have the surgery. And then there's another story recently, Rob, I'm pretty sure you know, where they're banning the father from having any say of his son's thing, because the mother's like, no, we decided, you're out of the picture. So I think we need to protect these children from their own parents, bro. And these doctors that are performing these surgeries should have their licenses taken away. I want to show, we just showed this video, randomly came up on my Instagram. This is, now Dave, this is a female who is...
It's from what I understand, it's a girl.
It's a biological female.
I've stopped using the qualifier biological.
Who's
but
6 years
it's
old.
a 6-year-old girl whose parents seem to be administering some form of hormone blocker because this girl thinks she's a boy and has parents who are going to entertain this.
Okay, and so guys, I'm just warning you guys, it's uncomfortable to watch, so just brace yourself for impact. Kelly, my love, please play it.
The 6th grader is about to have
a
medical device implanted in his left arm.
Look.
The
Jack's
reporter is
dad
saying
and mom are at his side.
Oh, jeez, I'm really terrified.
It's just your head. Jack, relax.
Let's hear what this thing does. They're going to tell us.
That it's all numb, okay?
The implant stops female puberty and will keep Jack from growing breasts.
Grade
I'm gonna lay down
6 is
two
12 years old.
Kelly,
Point
please.
number one is that the majority of adults-
You're jabbing a 6-year-old.
No, grade 6.
Grade 6.
Sir.
How old is a grade
12 years old, I think.
12? But,
Like right when you're about to hit puberty.
okay. First of all, like those parents should be arrested.
Evil.
100. What the fuck? Like, are you? And by the way, those doctors, this is legal practice. Are you? I don't understand what the hell's going
Vinny,
on.
let me help you tie these two stories together here, because like you mentioned that's kind of a tangent, but it's not really a tangent, because what this proves right here is that they want you to parent in a certain way. If you parent any other way, they're trying to take your kids away from you, lock you up, whatever it takes. They want parents who are okay with gender transitioning their kids. They don't want parents who are okay buying their kids a gun. and they are willing to basically take whatever action is necessary to punish them. Now, in the Crumleys case, they also are terrible parents. No one's trying to argue against that. But the shooter wrote in his journal that he has all sorts of mental health problems. That much is obvious from the fact he shot up a school, and his parents didn't do anything. This girl on the operating table here also has extensive mental health problems that she clearly went to her parents with, and their solution was, oh, we're just going to affirm them. We're going to feed into the mental health problems by taking our 12-year-old to get puberty blockers.